Welcome back. This is Greg with sportsrehabexpert.com. Today we're going to be going over the band pull apart and how to do it the correct fashion so that you train your shoulder, build more resiliency in your shoulder without pissing the shoulder off or pissing the neck off. A lot of people will develop neck or shoulder issues when doing the band pull apart wrong. So today we're going to be going over a couple keys to make sure you're doing it correctly. Now, the biggest mistake that I see people making from a shoulder perspective is thinking that they need to go further and further back all the time with the exercise. The goal of this activity is not to see how far we can reach backwards. That's just scapular adduction, meaning we're taking the shoulder blades and squeezing them together, which subsequently is also why people will start getting a lot of neck issues, because they're just using their scapular muscles to squeeze their shoulder blades close together, putting a lot of compression on the backside of their neck and spine. Tends to be the more irritating thing for people who have a flatter T-spine or very long, narrow torso individuals. So if you're one of those people, then this is something that's going to really be pertinent for you. But again, the goal isn't to jam the shoulder blades back together and see how far you can move it. The goal is to train the backside of the posterior cuff and the rear delt area there. So when we work those muscle groups, what we'll notice, the motion we want is still out wide, but we're going to stop even with our torso, and then we're just going to imagine like we're trying to reach out away from our body and really traction our body out long. So imagine you had two people holding you from your arm and they're trying to pull your arm apart. That's what's going to allow us to engage this posterior cuff area, this rear delt area, and minimize how much scapular muscle contribution we're going to get with this exercise. If you want to develop those scapular muscles, then the row would be the best exercise for you. That would be a great scapular strengthening activity. So stick to those to develop those muscles. For the band pull apart, we're going to train the backside of that rear delt and that posterior cuff. Again, stopping even with the torso and reaching long through the body. So what this looks like, simply grab the band, pull out away from you, and again, when we're here, we're thinking about just reaching long towards the camera in this instance, not how far back can we jam it. So again, here, pull apart, reach long through the arms, and then relax back to the starting position. Control it back there. Don't let the band just pull you back there, but you don't have to continually reach long like you're doing a bear hug on the way back. So the reaching long and away from the body as you pull apart, and then come back in to midline. Now, depending on your strength, the more you choke up on the band, the harder it becomes. You can also grab and double up on the band and grab both and pull apart. That's going to make it harder by adding more resistance. Again, keep in mind this is a band, so the further you pull apart, the harder the exercise becomes. So you need to be able to control that in-range position. When we do this with sportsrehabexpert.com online programming, we're using 3 hand positions. So we have a palm down, pulling apart, keeping the concepts the same. We have a thumb up, gripping it and pulling it apart with the thumb up. And then we have a palms up position. Working all 3 joint angles, you'll get a little bit different stimulus every single time. Again, with those flatter and narrower T-spine individuals, the more you externally rotate or turn your palm up, the more you're going to have a tendency to want to squeeze your shoulder blades. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but again, if you live in this position all the time, then just jamming yourself further and further into compression leads to a lot of neck discomfort. And again, the more you go back far with the arm, a lot of times people will develop anterior shoulder discomfort or bicep tendon discomfort there. So we're stopping even with the torso and reaching long out away from the body and finishing the lift in that manner. Stopping right here. One last thing that I'll see people do is they like to really arch their back. So if you need to arch your back to pull the band apart, you're using gravity to pull the band apart. You're not using your muscles. So take a little bit of an ego, put the ego aside, have a little bit more patience, drop the resistance down, and make sure you stand tall as you pull the band apart, as opposed to arching your back and thrusting your hips forward.